That's So You, episode 7. I'm Diane, aka Mrs. You. Today is the 5th of May. It's almost 11 o'clock in the morning. The triple martyrs are in school. As you can see, Little Miss is playing behind me and Mr. U is asleep. He just got home this morning. This is his last week of the night shift. I had hoped to have recorded episode 7 before the end of April, but I wasn't able to because Mr. U was doing the night shift. It's not always possible to record when he's around during the day because Little Miss knows he's around, so he's kind of up and down, back and forth, running between the two of us. And then in the evenings, it's a lot more to do. So it makes it harder to record in the evenings as well. Here I am. There's not much to do today around the house, so I thought I would do a recording before taking Little Miss to playgroup later in the afternoon. So what do I have for you today? I've got the usual done and dusted, a couple of whips, I think, goodies, and a little bit of Waiting in the Wings and some what's on Ravelry. Right, so firstly, done and dusted. What's up? Yeah. So done. Where's the other Can I have the other sock, please? My other sock, there. The other one. Can I have the other one, please? She's taken the other sock and has thrown it across the other side of the room. So I'll show you one of them for now, and then I'll get the other one. So, last week I showed you one of my sock designs that I'd finished, which was James and John, which I said was going to be part of the Fairly Odd Socks collection, which is going to be a collection of socks that are odd but at the same time a pairs, and they were named the Brothers Not Twins socks. The ones I have to show you today are the over the top, then in and out socks, also known as Überlappen and Bob and Weave. So this is Bob and Weave. This is the in and out portion of the pattern. I finished this a while ago. I haven't written up the I have the pattern written up from when I originally did Bob and Weave and Überlappen in summer last year. So I'm just tweaking that a little and just need to add new pictures in. So this is the Bob and Weave pattern. It's a slip stitch pattern, as you can see. This one is worked over, I think it's around 64 or 68 stitches, something like that. The yarn I've used is KIP Socks, yeah. Sorry for the interruption. I had to try and save my sock. So getting back to this, the yarn I used for this was KIP Socks, yeah, in the Sphene colorway. So the first one I did was Überlappen. As you can see, that's more of a lacy pattern, and Bob and Weave is more of a textured pattern. With it's toe up, they're both toe up. I used Judy's Magic Cast On for it. For the cast off, I think I mentioned in the last episode that the cast off on Überlappen was a bit loose and flared. I'm happy with the one on Bob and Weave. I'm not sure if I did exactly the same thing. I did the Jenny's Surprisingly Stretchy bind off, but I think that's what I did for both of them. I know I did it for this. I might have done it for this, or maybe I did this one slightly different. So at some point I will rip the cast off edge back on this one and redo that. But other than that, I am very happy with both of these socks. So I will try and get these written up very soon. What else can I say about this? I think that's it. So my final finished object since the last episode came off the needles just in time for me to enter it into the For the Love of Short Rows cal that was being hosted by Lola, who is the dyer behind Third Fault Yarns, and she has a Ravelry group on Ravelry of the same name. And this is the shawl, which was designed by her also, and it is called Blown Glass. Yeah, I haven't blocked it yet, as you can see, and I haven't woven any ends, but I still tend to class it as finished because, you know, it's off the needles. For me, that's finished, and I could probably wear it if I fashioned it in the right way, and you wouldn't be able to see the ends, and try and wear it in a way where it didn't roll up so much. But yeah, I am extremely happy with this. There were a couple of mistakes made. I've already mentioned previously along the border edge there were mistakes that I made when working up the border. There's one section that's not correct, and also I discovered when I was dropping the stitches, because the border has a drop stitch effect, I realized that I'd worked some of the stitches wrong so that the stitches weren't falling correctly. When I was working the main part, I was leaving too much space. Initially, I thought I wasn't leaving enough space when picking up stitches, so I began to increase the spaces. Then as I got towards the end, I realized that I didn't have enough space for picking up stitches, so towards the end, it's a bit bunched up on both sides, on here and also here, so especially here. So I'm just hoping that when I block this, I can stretch it out a little, but all in all, I am very pleased with this. I love the colours that I've chosen. The yarn for this is Loppy Iron Band. It's actually more of I think it's 2-ply lace weight, whereas the pattern calls for a 4-ply, but it works extremely well for this. I used one skein of each of the colours to make this, and let's check my notes to see how much I had left over. I think I made a note of that. Okay, yeah, I had 7 grams of the grey left over when I finished, 23 grams of the red. The grey is grey heather, the red is cardinal, and the black is black heather, and I have 22 grams of that left over. And each skein, well, it's supposed to be a 50-gram skein, that's the ball band. It's supposed to be a 50-gram skein, but which one did I measure? I measured or weighed the red one, cardinal, and I had 58 grams of yarn on that. So I had, that's about, yeah. So yeah, I had a good amount left over. So even if I did have and I think for the grey and the black, I'm just assuming I had about the same as well. I can't remember if I weighed them, but I didn't make a note of it, but I'm assuming it would be about the same. So yeah, 50 grams of the Iron Band yarn for each shade, or excuse me, is more than enough to make this. So that's a great yarn. I would recommend that yarn for shawls and hats and things like that. It's not skin soft, at least not for now. As I said, I haven't blocked it or anything, so who knows, it might get a bit softer once I've done that, but that yarn does go a long way. Yeah, this is how thin it is. It was a little difficult to work at time because of tensioning it on my finger. I hold my yarn in my left hand, and across my finger it did create a lot of friction as I was knitting, so I had to keep moving it around, but that was the only real issue with the yarn. Oh, and which one was it? The red one, there were 2 occasions where the yarn broke as I was pulling it out of the ball, but because it's 100% wool, I was able to use the felted join method to fuse it back together, so that wasn't an issue there. But yeah, I'm working towards probably blocking this sometime next week when yeah, I'll try and block it sometime next week, and so hopefully by the time of the next episode I'll be able to show you this properly. But woohoo, it's done. Oh, and should I say that now? Yeah, speaking of the cowl, I won a prize, so I was very happy to be able to get that, and also the socks in before the cowl ended. It was basically a cowl, just a short, as I said, it's a love of short rows cowl, so you have to work on projects that had some form of short rows in it. Didn't necessarily have to finish a project, but finishing a project meant you got extra points, so I wanted to get as many points as possible. So I have won a prize, and I am waiting excitedly for that to arrive. Okay, so I've done my done and dusted projects. Now on to what's on the needles. I currently have only 2 whips. One of them is the texture tied sweater, which I haven't worked on since the last episode, so there's no point in showing you that. The other is Tilia's kofta, and that is before I move on, needles. You see, I'm trying to get better at giving you all the information as I'm recording. So the needles I used for this were 4 millimeters and 4.5 millimeters. I went one size up for to work the shawl, but I used 4 millimeter needles for both the border and the main body. And no, I use I know I use 4 millimeter for the border. I think I use 4.5 for the main body. That's why I put that there, because I couldn't remember. And I went back down to 4 millimeters for the cast off. Yeah. Right. So now moving on to the okay, I haven't written that in. Moving on to my whip. It's the Tilia's kofta, which is a wrap cardigan that I'm making for Little Miss. It's her birthday towards the end of the month, so I'm hoping I can get this done by then. This is what I've done so far. This is what I've done since I last recorded. Not much. That's mainly because I was trying to finish the socks and the blown glass shawl, and also because this pattern, the lace section, is pretty much different on each row, so it's not something that I can just, it's not something that's intuitive where I can just remember straight away this is what I need to do. So something I have to sit down and have the pattern there with me. I put the designer's name on the screen somewhere. I I haven't written that out. But yeah, so the front is just worked in stocking stitch, and then it worked up in on the diagonal, and the same for the other side here. It just goes on the diagonal, and then the back is where you have the lace detail. So I am working hard to try and get this done by her birthday. The issue I have with this is that based on my gauge, I realize that she's going to be 2 on her birthday, and I realize that the 2-year size is likely to be too small, so I'm working the 3-year size. However, the back length measurements, it just seems to me to be too long. 1 minute. She's just fallen asleep, so I thought I would use that time to quickly measure her again. Yeah, the length for the 3-year size is supposed to come out as 15 inches, but that to me, it seems extremely long. It comes almost to her thighs, or kind of around her thighs. So I've decided, and even the 2-year size is 13 inches, which comes up to around her upper thighs. It's difficult to measure her because now she's sleeping on her front, and so I'm just measuring her from behind. And even when she's awake and I'm trying to measure her, she moves around all the time. She wants to play with the tape measure instead of allowing me to actually measure her. So even the 13 inches, which is the 2-year size, still seems a bit long. So I've decided to just work it. I'm working it in terms of stitches according to the 3-year size, but the length I'm working towards the 2-year size. So I'm just hoping that will work out. If not, then I'll just have to find something else for her to wear for her birthday. She already has a dress which my mum bought for her, I think almost a year ago. It's a white dress, so I thought this would go nicely with it. Yeah, so we'll see what happens there. The yarn I'm using is Cascade 220 Sport. It's really nice and soft and fluffy to work with, nice and spongy. And I am using 3.5mm needles for this. So yeah, it's working along nicely. I am trying to get more work done on it. I've worked 1 pattern repeat so far, and I'm at the beginning of the 2nd pattern repeat. I think in total I might have to do 3 of the pattern repeats before separating for the sleeve. So yeah, if I'm just able to sit and get time to do work on this properly. Most of the time so far I've only been able to do maybe 2 or 3 rows here and there. I haven't had the chance to be able to sit down and just work on it properly, but I will try and do that sometime over the weekend. What time is it? Okay, what time? I just have to check because she's asleep and I plan to take her to play group. I just want to make sure she has a good sleep before we go, but we've got plenty of time. So yeah, as I said, the only other whip I have is the texture tied sweater, which I haven't done anything on that. Yeah, so that's whips, that's I'm just checking my notes, that's whips, that's on the needles. Goodies. Now, I have 2 sets, well, 2 packages of goodies, but only one of them is for me. The first is from Lamington Lass. It's this skein. This is my 2nd skein from this dyer. The yarn is Fun Ply 3. It's a 3-ply weight yarn, 100% superwash merino, 500 meters per 100 gram, and this colorway is called Rose Red. I really like the color. It has streaks. I'm trying to get this. It It has streaks of kind of darker reds and lighter reds on it. I don't know, there's glare on the screen so I can't see it properly. But yeah, I think that's good. It's probably not as dark as that, but that's probably closer to what it is, yeah. But yeah, I really like this. I'm not 100% sure what I will do. Definitely a shawl. There is a shawl design that I want to start working on once my sock collection is done. So this would go nicely with it. I'm just at the moment thinking of colours to pair it up with, though haven't finalised that. I've just generally looked at yarns but haven't, it's not something I'm really planning to buy now. I'm just looking at general colours to go with. It is very, very soft. It's quite loosely plied, you can see, and most of the yarns I have more of a higher twist to them, and also it's 3-ply, so I don't know if I will in the end use this for that particular pattern just because it's 3-ply. It depends on the yarn I pair it with. I just have to see if they will tension well together. Yeah, but this is absolutely lovely. Even if I don't use it for that design project, I'll definitely use it for either another design project or just use it to make another shawl. But yeah, I'm really excited about the prospect of this colour. Who knows, I could even end up using it as a sweater. Right, the next goodie I have, like I said, that is the only goodie that is for me. The next one I have is going to be for a sort of a raffle or what's it called, lucky dip. The 10th of June is not only my birthday, but it's also Knit in Public Day. And a friend of mine who I met at a previous Knit in Public has last year put together an event in Granary Square, which is in King's Cross in London, and she's doing the same thing again this year. So I said I would like to help out trying to source items that can be given away to attendees. And so I've contacted a few yarn companies to see if they will be able to donate anything. A couple got back to say that they weren't in a position to be able to do so, which is fine. One of the companies I had contacted have got back to me and have sent some things, and that was Rowan. So they've given 3 skeins of this, which is Kid Silk Haze. It's a 25-gram ball. It is made with 70% mohair, 30% silk, and there are 210 meters or 230 yards per 25 gram. And this colorway is, I haven't even actually checked the colorway, but I don't think there's a name. There's a number here, which is Z012000. So I'm guessing that, yeah, oh no, here's the shade and the lot number. I don't know if you can see that. The shade is 00589. The lot number, well, don't really need to know the lot number, but yeah, that's the shade. So I'll see if I can track down what the actual color name is, if there is one. But yeah, we have 3 skeins of this. They also sent 2 pattern books. I wrapped them back up in the bubble wrap. I didn't want them getting ruined. Okay, so the pattern books we have are this, which is Crush by Kim Hargreaves. Let's see. So these are the patterns that are featured here. And there's a few there that I actually like, and I wouldn't mind making myself. And we also have this book with patterns for kids, which is little Rowan kids. And see if it's all on one page. Yeah, so these are the patterns that are featured there, and again there are a few there that I would actually like to make myself as well. So these are the first lot of goodies that we have available to give out to a lucky winner during the event. I'm not sure whether we would do it as a put these together as one lot, or maybe separate the yarn, maybe give the yarn to one person and each of the books to one person. I guess it will depend on how many people turn up. So if you are interested in joining us for that, it would be great to see people there. We had a few people turn up last year, so it would be great if even more can come this time. It's at Granary Square on the 10th of June. I'm not 100% sure about the time, but if I can find that out before editing, I'll put the details around there somewhere. Other than that, check out the Worldwide Knit in Public Day website and just look out. You can search there for events taking place across the world. And if you are in the London area on that day, we would love for you to come and join us. But yeah, just look out for more news on that. Yeah, so they're the only goodies I have. What is next? It's going to be Waiting in the Wings. Now, in terms of Waiting in the Wings, it's still the same as last week, the Join the Crew socks. I was going to put in an order on KnitPicks for some yarn to go with the minis I was going to use for that pattern, but as I was about to check out, the shipping costs was going to be just a little bit less than the actual cost of the yarn, so I just thought there's no point. And also I wasn't 100% sure about the shade I've chosen. So what I would like to do is tomorrow, seeing as it's the 6th of May and also Yarn Shop Day, I was hoping to be able to go to a yarn shop that's not far from me called Knit with Attitude. They are doing something for Yarn Shop Day, so I thought it would be a great time to go and see if I can find any yarn that I could use for the next sock design, and also something that I could use to work with the shawl that I plan to make. But tomorrow the boys will be having football practice. Football as in soccer, not football as in football practice. And Mr. Yu is working nights tomorrow and today, so that would mean he would be getting home tomorrow morning, and then I don't know whether he would have the energy to be able to stay up and stay with the boys. My plan was to leave them, bring them home from football club, leave them here, leave the buggy here, and take Little Miss out. Just take the Little Miss out. However, there is a chance that a family friend may be coming over. Usually he comes over and joins them for football club and then goes home Sunday. If that is happening, it just means extra noise in the house, because whenever there's an extra child in the house, the boys get a lot more active. So I don't know whether Mr. Yu will be able to handle all 4 boys in the house whilst he's trying to sleep or relax or something. So I'll just have to see. I would really, really like to go. So if this family friend doesn't come over, then most likely I will go and I'll leave them here, because on just the 3 of them, it's not so bad. Yeah, we can just give them an activity to do, and that will keep them occupied. It's not really an event that I think would be so child friendly, in the sense that they would have something to do there, or that there'll be something to interest them. And the shop itself is not a large shop, and I don't know how many people will be there at the time I go, if I do go. So that's why I was planning on leaving the boys home. So if this other child does come, even if I was to take them and him, it will just be a lot more. And I know it wouldn't be as enjoyable going there, because my main focus would be on making sure these boys don't stop playing with yarn, and I know they're going to be bored out of their minds as well. Or if there is cake there, they will probably go and all of them will try and eat all the cake, because it's kids and cakes and treats, anything like that. That's just all they see. So yeah, it's not something that I really want to come and drag the whole army over to. So yeah, hopefully I'll be able to leave them here at home, even if I just go out for an hour. I'll see how Mr. Yu is. I'll just see if it's okay for me to go out for like an hour or two and then come back quickly, which will be a lot easier to do if it's just by myself. If it's with Little Miss, which I will have to do, then it'll be slightly longer, but still not as long as if I was to take all of them. So yeah, if I can do that, then hopefully I'll be able to get some yarn. My main aim is to see if I can pick up some yarn for the socks. That's the only purchase I'm planning to make. The one for the shawl, as I'm not planning on making it just now, is fine. That's something I can just leave for now until I'm ready to do that. So yeah, so in terms of what's waiting in the wings, that's my plans for now. Okay, so finally we have what's on Valerie. Valerie is on the corridor. Shall I bring her out? No. I'm actually wearing what I wanted to do for what's on Valerie. It is my Blue Sands cardigan, and for all the times I've worked on this, I can't actually remember the designer's name, but I'll put that up there again. The reason why I'm doing this for my what's on Valerie, or shall I say what's on me section, so I just got a phone call, and yes, the family friend will be coming over for the football club. So hopefully Mr. Yu will be okay staying with the 4 boys whilst I go out. I'll just see how things go, how things are tomorrow, how he feels when he gets home. So yeah, as I was saying about this, the reason why I'm doing this as what's on Valerie, even though it's on me, and it was January I finished this, so it's just because I do, after wearing it for some time, I can see now where some changes do need to be made. One of them is on the sleeve. You can see it does come so quite long on me. I don't mind so much this kind of bagginess, because I do tend to wear it more as a coat a lot when the weather isn't so cold. But I do find the sleeves have flared out a lot, as you can see here. You can see it more on this one. So at some point I definitely will rip the sleeves back, and then probably to the last decrease, which was about here. So I'll rip it back to the last decrease, which is about there, and then I will start the rib section for the sleeves from here, and I will change the cast off for the sleeve. I might do maybe a tubular. Yeah, that's what my aim is. This one was done with I think there's an I-cord bind off, so at the top, yeah, it just flares out too much for my liking. Another thing is that it is longer than it should be. I think I paid attention to the stitch gauge, but not as much attention to the row gauge. So I've knitted it based on the measurements given in the pattern. Well, based on the row numbers given in the pattern. So it's turned out longer than it should have. So what I plan to do is something that I heard the hosts of, who was it? Of West Coast Wools. It's hosted by Glenda and I can't remember the other lady's name. But yeah, I can't remember the other lady's name, but they were talking about how you can shrink cotton by washing it. I think you have to wash it in hot water, and then if you then put it in a hot dryer, it will shrink it slightly. So that's what at some point I aim to try and do with this, because it is made with 100% cotton. If I can do that, hopefully it will shrink a little more to my size. Even if it's only a slight shrinkage, that's fine, because I'd say the arms really are baggy, as you can see, and the length. Okay, you can't see this so much, but it comes down pretty much almost to the back of my knees, so it's almost like an overcoat size or very oversized sweater, which again isn't so bad because I wear it mostly as a coat kind of going out, but it would be nice if it was the kind of size it was meant to be. And the sleeves do get in the way at times when I'm doing things, and I don't want to have to keep pulling them up all the way here because I'm afraid it makes it stretch out a bit more. So if I can, oh gosh, it's gone extremely dark. My face is looking very shiny. Okay, anyway, I'm almost finished now, so there's no point messing with things. So if I can do that and it works, that would be great. As long as it doesn't shrink it to a ridiculously small size, I'm fine. If it does, then I might just end up having to give it to someone. So I might just give it to my sister. There's one of my sisters who is very slim. So if it shrinks to a size that's way too small for me, I'll just give it to her. And she's vegan, so a cotton sweater would be perfect for her. So I'll just watch that episode again, and then just to make sure I understand how they did it. And then at some point I will try and do that. We don't actually have a dryer in this flat, so I'll have to go to the laundrette and do it. I could possibly wash it here and then take it to the laundrette to dry, but in terms of timings, that would have to be when I know that once it's washed, I can just take it straight there to dry, which isn't always possible in terms of making sure everything and everyone is ready. So it may just have to be one Sunday afternoon I go over there. I might take a few extra things and just wash it and get this dried. I'm just hoping that does work, but I will keep you posted on that. Okay, so now that is it, I guess. I think I am liking doing the podcast twice a month as opposed to when I would do them at the end of the month, because it doesn't seem to be so long. And it makes editing easier as well. And I guess it could make viewing easier because then you don't have such a really long podcast to try and fit into all the things that you're doing. I'm very behind all the podcasts I normally watch. Again, because Mr. U is working nights, because it means by the time I've got everything sorted in the house and everyone's settled, it's almost 9 o'clock. And by that time, I'm then trying to make sure little Miss falls asleep. Once she's asleep, tends to be very late. And then I'm not always focused so much on the watching podcasts, but I maybe just get to watch one. Whereas when he's working days, by the time I finish everything, it's usually around maybe 7, because he's here to keep little Miss busy. So then I can at least fit in maybe 2 or 3 podcasts before I go to bed. So next week I'm planning to really try and catch up on everything. So that is it. Oh, you see, I forgot the full introductions. So as I said, I am Diane, aka Mrs. U. There is a Ravelry group, which is Mrs. U Makes. I'm on Instagram as Mrs. U Makes as well, and on Ravelry as YummyTripletMummy. Most social media I'm on as either of those two. So yes, do check out the Ravelry group where you can share your projects, share what you're currently making, things like that. I will try and put details of the Knitting Public Day on that as well. And yeah, there's a blog. Check out the blog too. Whenever I do recipe videos, I post them there, and show notes will be on the Ravelry group. I tend not to put the show notes on the blog anymore. So I keep trying to do a video for scones. So when I do get a chance to do that, the video will be posted on YouTube, of course, and also I'll have the written out version on the blog. So the blog, I'll put the details of that up there. I think that's all I can say really. So have a great week. Until next time.